What's up, guys? Welcome back to Newswave. We have a few things to get into today, but first I want to remind everyone the embargo for God of War on the PS4 is up today, so you're going to see reviews, tons of information, Metacritic scores popping up all over the place. You're going to see Metacritic score kind of move around, but you will see scores all over the place. And I'm very curious to hear a lot about this game and what people think about it, because it is kind of one of my most hyped up games, at least for the early part of this year. It's out in 8 days now, so it's pretty cool to see. That's the 20th, same day as Labo, so God of War versus Labo, I guess. So just keep an eye out for that. But today I want to get into a few things, including a possible hint towards Pokemon releasing in 2018, probably later on this year, something I saw on Twitter. Another hint showing that Splinter Cell may be getting that game that a lot of us have been hoping for, a revival of the series. So guys, today, let's get started. So the question for Pokemon on the Switch being a 2018 release, is it 2018, is it later, has been something that we've all been talking about for quite a while now, since Nintendo and the Pokemon Company and Game Freak have been very quiet about it. The only thing we have to go on right now is even their uncertainty in their investors briefing, still saying 2018 or later. The fact that they won't move it off of that 2018 date is telling that they want to try to get it there, but we don't know if they're going to make it. Well, over on Twitter, Pixelpar, who has been following Pokemon closely with sources and everything behind the scenes, seems to be saying on Twitter that localization is indeed happening. If you remember, we did see job listings for these something with Pokemon for localizing, and it does appear that localization is happening. Now, what localization is happening, we're not sure. At least I'm not sure, but it does look like localization is happening in different regions, whether it's going to different languages or changing parts of the game for different cultures, kind of changing everything up. But usually when localization happens, that means that the bulk of the programming, design, and everything has concluded, or at least mostly concluded. So if that's the case, and they are localizing, they might be racing to try to beat the clock to get this done, localized, and out in time for 2018. Generally, when it's localizing, that means they're planning for a release that year, especially if it's going on now in April. Now, I was trying to figure out where it would release. Originally, I thought December, but I keep looking at November. November is wide open. Everyone's trying to get out in front of Red Dead Redemption 2, but there are a few games like Pokemon, like a Kingdom Hearts, like a Smash Bros. They can kind of make their own, they can set their own date and release whenever they want without having to worry about things around them. Pokemon is part of that group. Like I said, Kingdom Hearts, that seems to be a November release probably as well, based on some listings from Target saying November 1st, is probably another November release, and they can release that whenever they want also. Pokemon is going to sell regardless too. So yeah, more than likely it does look to be a 2018 release, just on what we're seeing. I did talk to Pixelpar, and they are very, very confident with their sources, I'll say that. So yes, it looks like it's being localized, and we're hoping that the localization can complete and get everything manufactured, all the cartridges and everything out there for the Switch in time for a holiday 2018 release. It will be a big release if they can get that out the door. That, Smash Bros, Fire Emblem, any other releases they have, something like Yoshi, and you can have a very stacked holiday season for the Switch, along with a ton of games coming out, obviously, probably from third parties, and then some for, like I said, Kingdom Hearts and stuff for PS4 and Xbox. So it's going to be a pretty stacked holiday, as we're already seeing, and Pokemon's just going to make it even more crowded. Next up, let's talk about Ys 8 on the Nintendo Switch. We've seen a lot about it. We've seen the release date coming June 26th, so it is a late June release, as we've seen. They've shared some screenshots, they've shared trailers that we weren't sure, is that the actual Switch footage, things like that. Well, they did reveal to press, they sent out a ton of B-roll footage. Again, they wanted to reiterate to press that this is an early build of the game, but they did share tons. I mean, I think this was like 15 or 20 minutes from what I saw, what was available, of B-roll footage of it playing on the Nintendo Switch. You're seeing some of that now, and the B-roll footage, it looks good. We can't tell a few things. Resolution and frame rate, mostly because it could have been recorded at, say, 30 frames, because what they've provided is a 30 frames per second video. Now, is it 30 frames? We're not sure, because you can still record 60 frames per second sources at 30 frames with recording software. Hard to say, but we do know right now it seems to have pretty much all the same effects that the PS4 version has still intact. It looks better than the Vita version, as we would expect. I don't think anyone's surprised about that, right? It's going to look better than the Vita version. But so far, yeah, it looks good. It looks like it's going to be Ys 8 on the Nintendo Switch, as we expected. I'm just glad to see some gameplay for it. And that does come out, like I said, June 26th. There's a whole slew of extra content coming with it as well. And they're even providing some other reversible cover arts that I guess didn't win their contest. This will apparently have a reversible cover art included when you buy it physically. So it looks like they're doing a lot of good stuff here with this game. And it's going to be out on the PC this week coming up. It's already out on the PS4 and the Vita. And then the Switch version is coming this summer. Next up, let's jump over to Steam Spy. If you don't know, Steam Spy is a good way for us to see how things are selling on Steam. It's been around for a bit now, actually quite a while, and it's always been a good reference point if we want to see how a game is performing. That's how we learned about sales for things like Cuphead when we were trying to figure out how it was doing. And pretty much any game that came out on Steam, we could see how sales were going, if there were already trends for sales. Well, it looks like they've run into a bit of an issue that is probably going to close down Steam Spy based on a new update and new terms of service and everything from Valve. They appear to have made everyone's account on Steam private when it comes to what you've purchased. Originally, they were all public. You could see what people have purchased, and they were able to pull data that way. But after sharing on Twitter that will no longer be the case, it appears they're going to be archiving what they have for Steam Spy, and that's it. It doesn't look like they're going to be able to continue because it seems like you have to opt in to share your purchases, and obviously not everyone's going to be doing that. So the fact that it's not shared by default could hurt or even damage some sales figures since not everyone's going to be sharing them. So it's a bit of a problem. It's a little bit of a shame because it was nice to be able to see what everyone was buying on Steam, and it was a good way to get a benchmark for what's selling well on PC, what happens to be selling better on console or vice versa. So it's going to make things a little more difficult to see sales figures and stuff on PC. Next up, let's talk about Media Create sales in Japan. This, of course, is the weekly sales charts for physical sales in Japan, and this week was kind of a downer, to be honest, because not a lot of stuff sold. In fact, everything was down. The PS4 was down significantly, which was very weird, although I did talk about how I think Sony has sold quite a few PS4s there to everybody who really wants them, probably has one. Monster Hunter gave it a massive boost, obviously, but that seemed to have cooled off a little bit. Even the game sales charts were down. Let's actually start with the game sales charts here with Kirby Star Allies back at the top from the number 4 spot, climbed all the way back up there, but it is leading the charts with only 35,319. That's what I mean when it was a down. I mean, seriously, a down week. When 35,000 units leads the charts, yeah, not a lot of people bought stuff last week. Far Cry 5, number 2 at 26,732. Down from there, we have Splatoon 2 at number 3, Mario Kart 8 Deluxe at number 4, Super Robot Wars X number 5. That actually dropped all the way down from the first spot, by the way. Legend of Zelda, Super Mario Odyssey, Ni no Kuni 2, Detective Pikachu, and then Super Robot Wars X. That one is on the PlayStation Vita. Jumping over to hardware, we're going to see the Nintendo Switch at the top, 40,000 and then 16 units. That is down about 1,100, almost 1,200 from last year this time. So this week last year, it is down about 1,100 to 1,200 units. The PS4 from last week dropped quite a bit, just about 10,000 units, a little more than that even, and that is even down about 10,000 units from this week last year. So you can kind of see that trend for the PS4 after it's kind of cooled off after Monster Hunter. It seems to be taking a bit of a downturn. The 3DS is also down from last week, but it's massively down from last year. Kind of what we'd expect, though. I mean, it's down from 25,000 units down to 9,000. Something we'd expect with the Switch in full swing now. Obviously, people are buying the Switch, and when Pokemon comes out, I think the 3DS is definitely going to be left behind at that point. The Vita also down 2,929, and then the Xbox One 119. That is also down, but I mean it's not like it's down a lot compared to everything else. It's also worth pointing out that the Nintendo Switch year to date is just behind the PS4, and we kind of expect it to pass it next week, or I guess this week when it's reported next week, because it is only behind about 10,000 units, and it seems to be covering the PS4 pretty significantly most weeks now. So we expect next week to go back into the lead for the year. and then it'll probably just continue to build that lead, and it will probably start to come up on the PS4's lifetime to date. As you can see there, the PS4 is 6.6 million. That is actually pretty good for a console over in Japan, since consoles don't sell nearly as well as handhelds. People say the Vita obviously failed, but look, the Vita has 5.8 million. The Switch, just over 4 million now, is probably going to catch the PS4 by next year at the latest. Might even be as soon as this holiday if Pokemon makes it out like we think it will. So I'm not really sure what's going on with the PS4. I think it's just, not a lot of games are really going to be coming up. I guess Kingdom Hearts is towards the end of this year, so that should help. God of War doesn't generally sell massively in Japan. It's generally a better seller in the United States and Europe. Very big seller in the United States, by the way. It'll probably cruise past 1.5 million in its first month just in North America. But God of War 3, from what I remember, sold only about 40 to 50,000 units in its first week in Japan, and then it kind of dropped off from there. It definitely won't be selling a lot of systems. So the PS4 may be coming up on the end of any massive explosive, weeks that it had, like it did with Monster Hunter, and that's just the way it is after a system has been out for so long, especially a console in Japan, and it's not a handheld. It's gonna start dying off. The Switch, of course, will keep its status quo at 40 to 50,000 as usual, probably in the coming weeks, and we'll kind of see what happens from there. I'm very curious how Labo affects the Switch's sales. That's probably the most interesting thing right now. Next up, let's talk about the Splinter Cell DLC for Ghost Recon Wildlands. It is out now. It actually came out on the 10th, and people have already played through the missions and everything, and they found something fairly interesting. One, there is a pretty fun reference to Snake from Metal Gear Solid retiring, and Sam gets kind of sad, and it's just like, oh, it's just me left. And but then at the end, there's something kind of interesting, a little telling that happens. Sam Fisher is actually called off on a mission that sounds like a whole storyline that'll start back up, where he has to go, and apparently they're missing nukes, and it sounds like he's going to have to do some infiltration there. It might have been a way to write him out of the Ghost Recon universe. That's very possible, because he was only there as like a guest character for a bit, for, a set of missions. But there's also the chance, as many people are hoping for, that this might be a way to get his story started for a new Splinter Cell that could be revealed at E3. It's something that would definitely get a nice pop from the crowd. People would be extremely interested in this at E3, so yeah, I'm hoping that's the case. I'm hoping we show up at E3 for Ubisoft's presentation and Splinter Cell is there front and center. That would be outstanding, and I hope this is just a way to get him back into people's minds and then have him kind of go off to his own adventure, because that's going to be really cool. By the way, that little Snake teaser there, or that Snake, plug there was really cool. I like the sound of that, because they have been in the past kind of poking fun at each other over and over again in different ways, so it's pretty funny to see, but hopefully, here's hoping. Splinter Cell, E3 2018, Ubisoft, make it happen. Finally, in our last bit of news, let's talk about Pete Hines from Bethesda making a bit of a tease to what we could expect at E3 from them. Now, they did talk about how they want it to be kind of a diverse lineup, some big surprises, some reveals that they have set up. They're going to have their own event at E3, kind of like what they did last year where they showed some cool stuff off. But it was pretty interesting to hear what Pete Hines had to say about their presentation, because it sounds like he may have alluded to a possible Doom sequel coming out, or at least being revealed. This was with DualShocker saying, "I couldn't give you any guesses as to what we're going to announce and when those games will be out, but I will say we have a lot of new stuff to talk about at E3. Whether or not folks realize it, this is the hell on earth time for us with E3. We are in the midst of so much planning and work for all of that content, but I'm really excited." Now, if you don't know, Doom 2 has a subtitle, Doom 2 Hell on Earth, kind of what Pete Hines is poking fun at there, or just alluding to. Now, that is from a while ago. Obviously, Doom is a fairly old game. I mean, the first Doom, not the one we just had. But Doom 2 is something that I think a lot of people would like to see. It, of course, would probably run on the latest id Tech engine, so it'd probably come out on, I would assume, all systems, since they seem to be getting the new id Tech engine running on the Switch. And if they did have a reveal, Doom 2 coming out on PS4, PS4 Pro, Xbox One X, Xbox One and PC, Switch, that would be awesome. The Doom we just saw recently, that they just call, Doom 2016 or whatever, was a great game. And I would love to see them build on that. The fact that it could be running on the same engine would, of course, cut down on their production time, I would say, by a good bit at least. They could definitely get it out there. So, yeah, I would love to see see that, and I hope that's what he's alluding to there, but let me know what you guys think down in the comments if this is them alluding to a Doom 2 reveal at their event that they're going to be holding at E3. Ladies and gentlemen, that's going to do it for Newswave today. If you enjoyed this video, hit the like button, guys. Really helps out. If not, hit the dislike. Leave a bunch of comments down below about everything we talked about today. Maybe you like the way Ys 8 is shaping up on the Switch. Maybe the footage looks good to you. Let me know if you're picking that one up. Ys 8 is a solid game. It's been out on the PS4 and the Vita for some time now. Like I said, it's coming out on PC next week, and then of course it's out on the Switch at the end of June. Let me know what you guys think about that game. What about Senran Kagura coming over, getting localized? Are you excited for that? What about Pokemon on the Switch? Do you think that's coming out 2018, or do you think the localization is just going to take too long and it might end up getting pushed into 2019? Very curious as to what you think about that, because we assume we're getting an E3 reveal for this, right? It's not going to be something that gets revealed, after that, I assume. I mean, it could also be in a direct before then, but let me know what you guys think about all this. Maybe a Splinter Cell at E3. Let me know, guys. And thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.